Hi, I'm Millcreek Supervisor Jim Bock. Today I'm joined by Millcreek taxpayer Dan Bensur to discuss an important question that will appear on the November 2024 ballot. This question pertains to a study regarding the existing form of government in our municipality. Let's dive into what this means for our community. Welcome to the program, Dan. Good to have you here.
Jim, it's an honor and a privilege. I'm so glad I could be here today.
Just want to give a little background on Dan. Dan is the founder and principal of Bensur Creative Marketing Group, LLC. He started the marketing firm in 1990, focusing on regional and national clients in manufacturing, food and beverage, retail, nonprofit, private label, and technology communications. Dan is very active in his community, having served on the boards of the Erie Waterworks, Millcreek Sewer Authority, the Site Center, Cathedral Prep School, Jefferson Education Society, the Erie Community Blood Bank, and the United Way. Dan is married, father of 3 adult children, and a lifelong resident of Erie, Pennsylvania, with a passion for his community and entrepreneurism. Again, thank you for being here, Dan.
I am so honored, and it's my privilege to really serve our community, but also be able to share how important this topic is, and to be able to discuss that with you today. I really look forward to it, Jim.
I'm going to start with, we're going to show the voters the question that will be on the ballot. And it will be worded exactly like this. Shall a government study commission of 7 members be elected to study the existing form of government of the municipality, to consider the advisability of the adoption of an optional form of government, and to recommend whether or not an optional plan of government should be adopted? Dan, what is the government study? Let's start with that.
Well, that's a very good question, and I have to acknowledge that the way that's written, it certainly is much lawyered up, just like my 2 Ivy League lawyer daughters would say the appropriate language. The study is really something that we've been looking at as a community for a while. And it is a little confusing in the process, the way that it goes forward. And today I hope I can shed some light on, making that less confusing. And what it really is all about is looking at our current form of government in Millcreek and comparing it and contrasting it to the other forms of government in very similar municipalities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So specifically, we will be able to spend 9 months spending time, energy, and effort to get expert opinion, to review existing forms of government in other places in the Commonwealth, and to pull all that together and really look at what we're doing today to see if it's the best possible solution we have, or if there's something better that we could be doing. All of this is very prescriptive, much like the way that the ballot question reads, in that the legislator has put forward very specific language. This is how the way it has to be done. This is the time frame it has to be done. Here's how many people will be involved. And then if that all moves forward, future steps and actions can be taken to consider a possible and potential change in our form of government. So the study is something that it takes a lot of people to put in certain energy, but there's committed individuals that are very concerned and interested to see what can we do.
What is your connection to the study? How did you become involved in this?
Yeah, it's another great question. It's funny how people ask you in your life, they say, hey, can you help? And it seems like your experience, for example, mine as a small business person, like how do you run things? How does it work? And when you combine that, my personal passion is marketing. And from that perspective, it's really looking at, what works best and how do you communicate that so that you get a positive result. So I was asked many years ago to get involved with the township when it was the first commission looking at recycling. And that was over 30 years ago. Since then, as you read in my bio, I've been very involved with other activities in the township. And as we've looked at the process that we have to make government work more effectively and how we might be able to challenge ourselves to be better, we do that over and over again in different areas and, every day, everyone that serves the community, individuals like yourself who've put yourself out there, and thank you for that service, to go through the election process, to become a servant to the community, and then to serve. So for me personally, I've been asked because I have a lot of experience with working with startups to major corporations. I have a lot of individual experience with helping things get started and finding ways to connect individuals to help them move forward. So from that perspective, when years ago I was asked to be involved the last time there was a study, and I helped try to organize that, put together a group, and look at what the potential future could be for our township. So when somebody mentioned it to me and said, "Hey, Dan, you have the experience, you have the knowledge, would you, consider some role?" And I said, "Here's where I can help, here's what I can do. I certainly have the passion for it, I certainly have the interest for it, and most importantly, the experience to help me really understand, that this isn't so much about, us against them or so much about one party against another. It's really a bipartisan, non-political exercise that literally the voters all have to say, hey, could you take a look at our form of government? And then the legislators already put together a process to say, here's how you do it. From that perspective, it's like, if that was as simple as we could do on other levels of government, we would have asked for that a long time ago.
Right.
I believe that I have a long history of helping organizations do that, and that's why I'm passionate about it, and that's why I'm involved.
Okay. Let's discuss some of the history briefly. We don't want to cloud the waters too much, I don't think, with the upcoming vote. But my understanding is there was a government study done in the past in Millcreek, and you were present during that time span, and just tell the viewers a little bit about that.
Sure. The last time that this exercise went forward, I will say that, again, the goes on the ballot, and the ballot has to be a yes/no question. We're either going to agree to have a study done, or we're not. Simultaneously, candidates have to be on the ballot, and this year there's 11, of which we vote and elect 7, but they only move forward if it's yes to let's do a study. And in trying to move that forward in a productive way in the past, the study was put together, the election happened, individuals served, and the actual attitude and the acumen and the desire for, let's just call it completely unobstructed, aggressive review to really say, where are we? Can we really move this forward more productively? It probably wasn't so much the appetite at the time. It was more a very conservative effort. It was more of a very, well, maybe we could, maybe we can't, what else is being done? There really wasn't third-party activity where an expert or an expert group was brought in to assist, which is really what you need to do. And there really wasn't a deep dive into really looking at, wow, what are the economics and how does this work in other places in a way that financially we could really lay it out there and see what the benefit might be of another form of government.
I know in my 7 years with the township, I've heard consistently about transparency in government, specifically the lack of it. And maybe you can just touch base on the citizens and their role and their input into this and how that would, play out.
Absolutely, and it is critical. So the way that the process does play out is that if we would also look at the candidates, pick the candidate, and then the candidates would be put on as commissioners of the study, and they would have 9 months, 9 months to bring it to complete closure. So this isn't something that's going to drag out a long time. Mm-hmm. The goal of that would be that they would find an organization that could help to do the research, the heavy lifting, find the other models, get the information, and bring that in a way that's, again, hiring professionals to do what they do best: study, analyze, and present options. And at the same time, there will be public forums, there will be public commentary, there will be open dialogue, there will be the opportunity to go to a website and offer opinion and comment. What do you think needs to change? Why do you think it needs to change? And then as the information is brought forward, it will be up through a period where everyone has an opportunity to participate, everyone has an opportunity to comment. It's something that everyone feels like, hey, I said that. That's what I believe that. That's something that I really get. Because in order for us to move forward that way, we really need to get everybody involved as much as they can be. They need to think about what actually happens, to your point, and instead of like, oh, I have no idea, be very informed. Say to know exactly what's happening.
There are a lot of misconceptions out there, or just misinformation about how the Millcreek form of government works, and so I think this will be good to delve into that, and the public will be able to see that.
Oh, absolutely, Jim. I'll tell you that even when we go out to talk to some folks and say, hey, we're looking for candidates, or we're trying to get people interested, or what do you know? And I don't care who it is and what level of education or involvement in the community. When you ask questions like, do you understand how things currently work? And they might go, yeah, this is how it works. And go, no, that's not actually how it works. Or, well, I'm not really sure. And you're right. This is a way that they can be involved to better understand, how this does work. Just to touch on a very important note there, of the municipalities that are in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that are similar to Millcreek in size, there are 40 some municipalities. Of them, we are the only one that currently has our form of government. All the other ones have a different form of government. Many of them have a similar form of government. But you have to ask yourself, well, are we doing it right and they're doing it wrong? Or are we doing it wrong and we need to move forward?
Right.
So that, that question is important, and that's really when you look around and go, well, why are we doing it so differently?
Right. Yeah, I think it's important that we don't treat government any differently than we would, another business or anything. Businesses often have, evaluations done, and they do a deep dive into their finances and their procedures and, their everyday operations, and this should be no different.
No, it really shouldn't. And there's one of my favorite expressions is, and it's by a famous American musician, is you're either busy being born or you're busy dying. And that applies to everything in life. We're either moving forward and trying to live our best life and be out there and being proactive and productive. And it's the same way with businesses, the same way with nonprofits, the same way with organizations that are governmental entities. We need to find ways to say, are we up to code? Are we up to standard? Are we moving it like everybody else? Because candidly, we have to compete. We have to compete for tax dollars. We have to compete for grants. Right. We have to compete for people wanting to move to our community. And if we're not doing a good job of being better, then again, we're going back to saying it's okay.
People are very concerned about their tax dollars in the township, and what would this type of study cost? When you touch base on, are the commission members paid, or what would be the associated costs with such a study?
So that's a question we hear from a lot of folks, because they want to know, well, who's making money out of this and what's going on? Right. So, the commissioners that would be elected are volunteers. They are non-compensated volunteers, again, offering their time and their talent. And I will say, just as a side note, that this group is a group that ranges from, retired CEOs to doctors to people that have just been really involved, that really want to see Millcreek move forward because they just have a passion for what we can do to help our community. So they're not compensated. The cost of the study is projected to be, and the budget would be about $1.50 per citizen in Millcreek. So from that perspective, again, it's not something where it's like, well, we got to spend what we got to spend. This is going to come down to, here's the budget.
Right.
We're going to find a way to get it done within the budget. We have a very prescribed timeline, so it has to move very rapidly.
Are you hearing any feedback from any of the citizens or residents concerning this? I know in some ways we're early, but in some ways we're only days away from the November 5th question, and with early voting in Pennsylvania, people will be actually seeing this question well before November 5th.
Yeah, they will. So first off, in order to be on the ballot, every one of the individuals who are on, the 11 individuals who are running, they have to go out and gather up 200 signatures on a petition from, registered, from individuals who live in Millcreek.
Okay.
So you have to go door to door, and you have to go out and talk to people. And obviously, when you go knock on somebody's door, they're like, you want to talk about what? You're doing what? You get a lot of that kind of response. People are like, why would we need to do that? So we get a lot of feedback. This group has gotten a lot of interesting feedback. For the most part, I think a lot because, it's something we can't escape today, how our government is so divisive on a national level, that on a local level, maybe things are a little too vanilla. But people are really feeling like, okay, well, what does other people do? Well, how is it done other places in the Commonwealth? Well, what could we do better? And it immediately starts to evoke questions where people are like, well, how much will it cost? How long will it take? And all the questions we're getting are questions that really help us, answer, what the potential outcome as well as time frame could be to this. Yeah.
Okay. And they can also go to the township website for additional information. Any additional thoughts?
The timeline of this would be, it'll be voted on now to either say yes or no. We'll vote for the commission, and then that commission has 9 months to put something on the ballot potentially in 2025. And if that was something that was voted for then, the actual change of government wouldn't go into effect for a whole nother year.
How will the findings be communicated and used to inform future decisions in the township?
That's a good question. As things move forward, it'll be in a very public way, because it'll all be out there in a transparent, here it is. We'll try to have town halls, we'll try to have community meetings to drive awareness for these are the topics being discussed, here's the information we found so far. And then when the findings start to come in, that information will also be out there. Hey, here's what we're learning, this is what we've seen, here's information we have. The whole study will be very public. All the information will be out there in black and white, so to speak, and we'll be able to put it up in a way where, again, individuals will be able to read it, agree, disagree, comment, give their feedback. And more importantly, when you do something like that, it also evokes the opportunity for every individual to sit back, think about it, and have their own perspective. Through that type of community and that type of shared experience, sometimes the greatest ideas come out of just asking, what do you think? And
Right.
we really believe that can be very useful, and the information will be out there for everybody to be able to share and to help us be able to participate.
So if Millcreek voters vote yes to having the study, they would also elect 7 residents, as we discussed before, who would volunteer and spend 9 months conducting the study. How do people find out who's running for this commission prior to voting?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, this is an incredible range of individuals. I'll tell you, generally speaking, you can vote for 7, and there's 11 folks running. Every one of them has passion, every one of them has an interest, and everyone has very different qualifications. So I think it's something where, as opposed to just going and going, check, 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 check.
Right.
It'd be a good thing to really look at who you relate to and who you feel, well, I know that person would do a good job, and vote for the one that you think would best do that job. Because they're definitely, as I said, very passionate and really want to do a good job.
Okay. Thank you again, Dan. Appreciate your time. And viewers, I hope this conversation has you interested in learning more information about the important question that will appear on the November 2024 ballot.